Welcome to my garage, where over the last year I've made quite a few changes. It all started when I bought a 2-post lift and promptly traded it to my brother because I needed a 4-post and he needed a 2-post. To install that lift, I needed to make one small change, which was raise my garage door to the ceiling and install a different garage door opener. And I figured, while I'm in the neighborhood, might as well just give the walls a fresh coat of paint. Also, while I'm in the neighborhood, might as well just install some nice metal cabinets. And then also maybe install the world's worst designed and most expensive pegboard. And since cabinets and pegboards are going in, got to reorganize the entire garage, go through all my tools, find new places for things to fit. And if I want to see all this work, I'm going to need some new lights. And then, you know what, my air compressor has always been pretty inconvenient, so let's plumb in some air lines. Which brings us to today. And today is going to be the end of making changes to my garage. So there's a little bit of chaos out here. I actually just finished some inside projects and I've got parts and tools and just things everywhere. So the first thing we need to do is some organization. Second thing we need to do is install some more of these lights because I love these lights so much. They're so good, they're so bright. We got more going in over here. And then I've got a dirty little secret. I've been running the lift and the garage door and that vacuum off of an extension cord for a year now. So we've got some electrical work to do. So once we knock out those 3 things, we'll be done. They're going to take a tour, we're going to look around, and we're going to talk about what worked and what was a complete waste of money. Spoiler alert, that was a complete waste of money. Getting late, I'm getting a little sweaty, but it's so light in here. I've had this bank of lights in for a while now. This bank of lights has been sitting in a box on the floor, and oh my God, it's like daylight in here. If there's one thing that's been a huge improvement, it's just how bright it is in this garage now. I thought I might have to move the Healy out of the way, but this car is actually so tiny and so little, I just worked right over it. So we have one more thing to do. I need to put an outlet up in that corner for that garage door opener. Going to tie into the original garage door opener outlet, which is still up there. So I need to shut the power off to the garage, go in the attic where it's really, really hot, but then we're done and it's time for the tour. So a little more wiring and we're done. Okay, next time I do wiring, bent over on top of a car lift on midnight in the dark. I'm moving the classic car out of the way first. And there's a giant moth in here. I think we're done. Let's take the tour. Ta-da! And guess what? For the first time in a long time, it's wired. Everything works. I don't know if I can run my vacuum and open the garage door at the same time. That could be a concern, but you know, for now we're just gonna do one at a time. I don't know if it was struggling or going really slow. I installed that, so it might not be perfect. But let's take a look around at the finished garage. There has been painting and wiring and lighting and shelving moving and workbench reconfiguration and cabinet installation and lift installation. Basically everything came out, everything got cleaned, everything got painted, everything got reorganized and put back in with some minor upgrades. So let's start with these over here. So these are the Husky cabinets that I installed. I got them for probably 60% off when Home Depot was having a sale. And they're pretty good. They're metal, they're a good thickness, nothing you'd probably have in a big industrial shop, but for my home garage, is perfect. And one thing I like is just, I'm able to actually keep everything covered up so it's not constantly getting covered in dust and grime and just crap. I know there's lots of people who like shelves, there's lots of people who like cabinets. I like both. So we've got cabinets over here and shelves over there. I have it kind of organized, so I've got car cleaning stuff in one middle cabinet. I have all of my various glues and solvents and things to stick stuff together and lubricants to unstick stuff together. And then over here, we have our overflow, less commonly used power tools. Lots of angle grinders. We start with the more dangerous power tools and work our way down to the, the corded things that don't get used very often. The one thing I do like about these is they've got these little pegboards inside, and also since they're metal, you can use magnets to actually like strap things down really good, so you can have something like a level on a door and it doesn't flop around everywhere. And just these cabinets, really happy, they work really, really well. There's a lot of loud bugs outside, so we're closing the garage door just to prove that it closes. And now that it's closed, we're gonna talk about one thing that I don't like on this side of the garage, and that's this pegboard. It looks cool, it's sturdy. It wasn't the easiest to install. It was actually kind of a pain in the butt to install. Things didn't line up right. But overall, it's really expensive. I think I paid $600 to $700 for, I don't know, like 8 square feet of pegboard, when that whole pegboard there was $23. So it works. It looks cool. It holds all my tools, which is what I wanted. I wanted like a good organizer system for the tools I grab most often. It does that, but like I should have spent the money on something else. Maybe more tools and not just something to hold tools. That would have been smart. Up top, we have our lumber and metal parts organizer. This is super cheap on Amazon, I think 30 or 40 bucks, and it has been a game changer. And I kind of have a rule, if I'm trying to save a piece of wood and it's too small to fit up there, it doesn't get saved. So board has to be at least like 3 feet long, otherwise it gets thrown away. So that's actually helped me not save a ton of crap. And the stuff I do save, it's up and it's out of the way and it's organized. Cannot recommend one of those things enough. Of course, we have our custom Serraterra artwork. My dirty parts bin washer. Funny story, there's a video you can watch. Steven made me a nice parts bin washer. Unfortunately, it was filled with pickle beer. And when you fill something with salty beer and then wash it out with water, it turns out it rusts and never works again. So we've got the lid of my dirty parts bin washer, my nice 0 to awesome, we fail around here, themed pegboard. Then of course, the Allen pegboard, can't go anywhere without it. It's kind of a shame that I'm storing my tall ladder right here. I feel like I need to find somewhere else to keep the tall ladder so that I can have an unobstructed view of everything going on in this garage. When I moved into this house, this workbench was here. It was just in a different form. There was a shelf in the bottom and then a cast iron stove built in and stored back over here. So that went away, and we've got my little fridge over here for my garage drinks and garage snacks. I put in, kind of proud of this, an organizer system, tried to mimic what you would find at Ace Hardware, where all the nuts and bolts and things are nice and organized. I think there's a better way to do this with drawer slides, because these would be real nice if they just slid out and you could open them up and get your parts and then slide them back in without having to pull it out and use a surface. So maybe down the road, we'll put some drawer slides on these bad boys, but this has been a huge help. And then I just took the wheels off of a toolbox and installed it in the workbench, and it works really well. So yeah, your toolboxes don't have to roll around. You can build them into things. You know, I said some people like cabinets and some people like shelves and that I like both. Well, some people like toolboxes and some people like pegboards, and again, I like both. So the pegboard here, put a new pegboard up, actually primed it and then painted it the wall color, and then stenciled out the build fail, because we fail a lot here at 0 to awesome. And then yeah, just the most common tools, the things I reach for all the time, aren't hidden away in the drawer. They're right here, they're easy to access, and plenty of space to add more tools and cover up fails. We don't think about failing too much. There have been a couple small technological updates to the garage. Since I started working on the garage, I got an electric car, so I had to install some electric car charging. Also, I've got the controller for the garage door openers, so you can open and close them from keypads and from your phone, and for the security system. Speaking of security, there are some cameras installed in the garage. And then also, kind of a little entertainment center in the garage. Might be a little weird to some people, a little sacrilege to have a TV in your garage. When I'm working during the day, I usually listen to music or have the news or something playing in the background. And that's kind of the same thing out in the garage. I like to have some, old series of movies or an old TV series playing just for some extra noise. So it's just a cheap TV I got for sale online. If it melts in the garage in the Texas summer heat, I won't be too heartbroken, but I like having it out here. Then also, especially the speakers, I can Bluetooth my phone through this amplifier. It's also connected to the TV, so we can crank it up loud and actually hear it over the power tools that are being used in here. Moving on, we have the shelving department. So these shelves were already here. The shelf material was MDF, so I actually took some plywood, cut it down. I used a solid stain to stain it, protect a little bit. And because of size problems, because I didn't want to move this workbench over, I couldn't really because of a wall, and I wanted to put this toolbox here. One of these shelves is 2 inches narrower than the other shelf. There was a little custom work and some welding and some riv nutting, but you can't really tell, and I've climbed on it, so it's sturdy. So the shelving a little bit custom, but it fits. And on the shelves are some more miscellaneous parts, things that are too big to fit in the parts organizers or in the cabinets, stuff, generators, smaller air compressors, things that aren't used too often. And then the further we go down, we have our overflow materials, paint that I need to keep in different caulking, and we start with tools that don't get used very often and then work our way down to some materials and supplies that don't get used very often. And the further up you go, the less often things are used. And then that brings us to the car lift and the back wall of despair. So the lift does not leave a lot of room over here for storage. But one thing I did find years ago are honestly these just cheap Walmart storage systems. I think it's 15 bucks for a 4-foot storage rail, and then probably $2 or $3 per different adapter. And it's maybe a third the price of what they charge for the Home Depot and the Lowe's branded stuff. And it's held up really well. And those ones which carry the casters for the car lift have a lot of weight on them. And so far they're doing just fine. And of course the lift, the one downside I've been called out on this is that I don't have power right here for the pump. So whenever I use it, I've got an extension cord magneted on that I have to run and plug in to an outlet on the wall. Maybe I could run some conduit down, some flexible conduit. I don't think it's worth it. The lift, it goes up and down maybe twice a month. So if I'm using it more often, maybe once the Healy is done and running, maybe I'll put conduit in, but for right now, the extension cord is doing just fine. All in all, this whole project, I would say there's really only 3 things I'm disappointed in. One is the giant scary bug up there. Okay, so 4 things. 2 is this pegboard system. I mentioned it. It's nice, it's sturdy, it's way too expensive. There's other solutions on the market I should have gone with. 2 is this air hose reel. I spent all this time plumbing air up through my attic and got it all hooked into my air compressor, and I installed this distribution block over here by the workbench so I can have air right at the workbench. And I didn't cheap out. I got what I thought was a good air hose reel, but it's still not very good. I think if you want an air hose reel, you have to buy like the best one out there, because this was a pretty good one, and it's still just like, it doesn't lock into place. It doesn't roll very smoothly. I don't know, not a big fan of that. And then the last thing is, I should have installed air conditioning a long time ago before I painted the walls. My garage isn't insulated. I'm gonna put an AC in. I also might need to insulate it, which would involve cutting open each bay in the walls and blowing insulation in. I maybe should have done that before everything was done, because that's gonna be a big mess. But we're gonna start with the AC, and if the electric bill's crazy, we're gonna have to insulate the garage. There it is. That is the final product of my garage update. There's a couple more light switches to turn off than there were before, but I am incredibly happy with how everything turned out. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. I'll try and answer them. If you think this was the stupidest thing and a waste of time and money, also please leave a comment below. I love that encouragement. And I'm gonna put the cars back in here, and I'm gonna go sleep because it's very, very late. That wasn't good.